It all started on the day of my grandfather's will reading. We gathered at the law office, my mother, my father, my sister Jessica, and me. My brother Ryan did not even bother to come, since he cared more about his business on the California coast than any family drama. I was not expecting much, but at least something symbolic. My grandfather had money. Not the kind that put him in magazines for the wealthy, but enough so that none of his children or grandchildren would ever have to worry about money. Except for me, apparently. Jessica will inherit the property in Malibu, the family's bank account, and the company's shares, the attorney read. Silence. And for Emma, the man cleared his throat. She gets $1. I thought it was a mistake. My mother barely looked at me, just sighed uncomfortably. My father, as always, said nothing. And Jessica? She smiled. Well, $1 is still money, she said. And Ryan, who had arrived at the last minute, laughed. Do not spend it all at once, he said, laughing loudly. The others laughed too. At that moment, I said nothing. I just took the envelope with the $1 bill and swallowed every emotion for later. A memory that explains everything. I could say I was surprised, but that would be a lie. My grandfather never really liked me. It was not that he was cruel, I just did not fit into his idea of a good granddaughter. He was the kind of man who always thought he was right, no matter the topic. He knew everything, and the rest of us were just ignorant. Jessica understood this from an early age and knew how to play her role perfectly. She always agreed with him, always said what he wanted to hear. You are right, Grandpa. You are so wise, Grandpa. And he adored her for that. I, on the other hand, had the bad habit of asking questions and refusing to stay silent. I remember a Christmas when I was about 9 years old. We were at his house, and he gave Jessica a huge teddy bear, almost the size of an adult. I got a much smaller box. When I opened it, I found an old dictionary. Smart girls read, he said, barely looking at me. My mother smiled and nudged me lightly, as if telling me to say thank you. Thank you, Grandpa. Do not waste time on nonsense, Emma, he added, before turning back to Jessica to ask if she liked her gift. I did not understand it then, but over the years, it became clear to him Jessica was the perfect granddaughter, because she never contradicted him. I, on the other hand, had too many opinions, and he did not like that. It was not just that one moment, it was everything. If Jessica fell, he would immediately pick her up. If I scraped my knee, he would tell me not to make a big deal out of it. When Jessica turned 18, he bought her a BMW X5. I had to save up to buy my own bike. Over the years, I learned not to expect anything from him. And in the end, that is exactly what he left me, nothing. After the will reading, no one in my family mentioned it. No calls, no messages, nothing. As if what happened at the law office had never occurred. But I could not forget. When I got back to my tiny 300-square-foot apartment, I threw the envelope with the $1 bill onto the table and just stared at it. Do not spend it all at once, I whispered, imitating Ryan's voice. And there, alone in my tiny place, laughter escaped me. The kind of ugly laugh that comes out when you are on the verge of a breakdown, because if I did not laugh, I would probably cry. It was not just about the money. It was the fact that they left me with nothing, and did not even have the decency to pretend they cared. My bank account was in the red. I had no job, no room for mistakes, the job hunt, or how to lose your dignity in 1 week. I spent the next few days sending out resumes everywhere. Restaurants, stores, offices. It did not matter where. The job that crushed my dignity, I got a call from Sunset Coffee House for a trial shift. 10-hour shifts, miserable pay, exhausting customers. I accepted without hesitation. On my first day, a group of customers walked in. The kind that looked like they came straight out of a business magazine, expensive suits, luxury watches, the whole package. They took a seat at the back and started talking loudly about investments, startups, and millions. If a business is not making at least $20,000 a month, it is not worth it, one of them said, sipping his coffee like it was liquid gold. The problem is not money, another one replied, scrolling through his phone. The problem is figuring out how to make it work for you. That is when it hit me. Not because I wanted to be like them, but because I did not have a single dollar working for me. I was the one serving coffee while they talked about business. That night, when I got home, my feet were aching. I collapsed onto my bed, still wearing my work clothes. But instead of falling asleep, I grabbed my laptop and started reading about business. Not because I wanted to be a millionaire, I just wanted to get out of the mess I was in. The first attempt and the first failure. After several nights of reading until dawn, I had an idea. I came across an online course on reselling secondhand items, and I thought, I can do this. I had a few things at home that I did not use, so I listed them on a resale app. Nothing happened for 3 days. Then, a message, "Is this still available?" My fingers trembled as I typed, "Yes, of course." I sold my first item for $25. It was nothing special, but it was the first time I made money without a boss exploiting me. So I started looking for more things to sell. I went through every closet, every corner of my tiny apartment, but I did not have much left. So I went to flea markets. I bought an old jacket for $5 and sold it for $30. I bought a purse for $8 and sold it for $50. And that is when I realized something. The problem is not money. The problem is figuring out how to make it work for you. I realized I could survive without depending on a boss. I just needed to learn how to play the game properly. That was the first piece of the puzzle, but the real change happened later, when the people who laughed at me started noticing I was not stuck where they left me. After my first $11,000, everything snowballed. Every month I made more, $2,500, then $5,000, then $8,000. My routine became almost automatic: buy, restore, post, sell. But there was a problem. I was exhausted. Some days I spent 14 hours managing orders, responding to customers, organizing shipments. One afternoon, after answering over 60 messages, my vision blurred. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like a zombie with dark circles the size of my emotional debt to the therapist I still could not afford. "Either I hire someone or I am going to die," I said out loud. I resisted for a few more weeks, but when I started turning down sales because I did not have time, I knew I needed help. The team that changed everything. First, I hired Hannah, a girl who handled messages and posted listings. Then I hired Dan, who took care of shipments and managed the storage. Next, I brought in Jake, who had connections with suppliers and got us exclusive products. And finally, Megan, who had experience in digital marketing and helped me scale everything 3 times faster. In 4 months, I went from working alone to leading a team of 6 employees. Now, we were not just selling on resale platforms. We opened our own online store. We paid for ads, optimized shipping, and negotiated with larger suppliers. The result? Our revenue tripled. Opening a physical store, the big leap. The online store was already generating more than $30,000 a month, but it was not enough. I wanted more. I had been thinking about opening a physical store for months. Selling online was great, but there were products that people wanted to see and touch before buying. I needed a physical space. I spent weeks looking for locations. Some were too expensive, others were in areas with no foot traffic, until I found the right one. It was a small place, but well located. The rent was nearly $3,000 a month, but that did not worry me anymore. When I signed the lease, I felt a mix of panic and excitement. I was investing $50,000 to set it up. It was crazy, but it was my kind of crazy. The grand opening. On opening day, I had no idea if anyone would show up. But people came, a lot of them. Customers from the online store, people who had seen the ads, curious passers-by. We made nearly $8,000 in sales on the first day. That night, after closing up, I stood alone in the store, looking around, and thought, Grandpa George would be rolling in his grave if he knew this. Because yes, in the end, I built a real business. And not just any business, one that was already making more than $50,000 a month. The family starts smelling the money. I had not spoken to my family in almost 1 year. After the will reading, I simply disappeared. But one day, after an article about my store was published in a business magazine, I received a message from my mother. "Susan, sweetheart, it makes me so happy to see that you are doing well. We had not heard from you. Why do not you come over for dinner with the family?" Of course, they had not heard from me until my name appeared in the press. 2 days later, Jessica texted me. "Jessica, oh my God, I saw your store, congrats. I always knew you would go far. Hey, we should meet up. I have an idea that might interest you." I always knew you would go far? Really? Because the last time I saw her, she was laughing at the fact that I got left with $1 in the inheritance. And it did not stop there. The following week, my father called. "Richard, sweetheart, we have been thinking. Your business is growing and, well, family should always support each other. Maybe we could help you with management." Translation, they wanted a piece of it. The next day, another message from Ryan. "Ryan, hey, Emma, how is everything? I have a friend who might be interested in investing in your business. You should think about it. We are family after all." Oh, right, we are family. A few days later, my mother showed up at the store unannounced. "Emma," her voice sounded fake, too enthusiastic. "I am so happy to see you." "What do you want, Mom?" I asked bluntly. She acted offended. "How can you say that? I just came to see how you are doing and to tell you that I have been thinking. Maybe it is time for you to come back to the family." "Come back to the family?" I repeated, "after you all left me with just $1? "Oh, sweetheart, do not see it that way," she sighed. "Your grandfather had his way of doing things, but what matters is that we can start fresh now." "Starting over?" "Starting over, yes. Look, Jessica and Ryan talked to a financial advisor, and they think the best thing would be to divide the business among the four of us." "The four of us?" "Well, yes. It is just that we helped you get here." I laughed in her face. "You helped me?" Well, she clearly was not expecting me to say that. "Mom, when I was washing dishes at a coffee shop just to survive, where were you? When you all laughed in my face over the will, who helped me?" She had no answer. "I am sorry, but this business is mine." She fell silent. Then she pressed her lips together and said the line I had been waiting for. "You have become so selfish." I crossed my arms. "I am not selfish. I am just not stupid anymore. It was not enough that they laughed at me when I was left with just $1. It was not enough that they ignored me when I was scrubbing dishes for minimum wage. No. Now that my business was making more than $50,000 a month, suddenly we were family again, and of course, they thought they were entitled to a share." The first attack, emotional manipulation. After my mother's little visit to the store, I thought they would drop the subject. But no. "Ryan, Emma, think about it. It does not make sense for you to handle everything alone. We are your siblings. We have always been a team. Always. The last time we were a team was when I was 10 years old, and he forced me to give him my savings so he could buy a video game. Susan, sweetheart, I do not want you to think we are pressuring you, but families should support each other. You cannot be so resentful. Your grandfather hurt you, but we did not. Did not they? They were the ones who laughed in my face at the will reading. They were the ones who did nothing when Jessica took everything. Jessica, Emma, can we talk in person? I do not want you to misunderstand our intentions. Their intentions were crystal clear. They wanted me to disappear, just like they did when I had nothing. But they were not going to take no for an answer." The second attempt, the family business trap. 1 week later, my mother insisted that I come over for dinner. I do not know why I went. Maybe deep down I was still curious about how far they would actually go. When I arrived, they were already seated at the table, Jessica, Ryan, my parents. They even brought a lawyer. "Emma," my mother started, pouring me wine, like this was a normal family dinner. "We know how hard you have worked to build your business. Thanks for noticing," I said with a sarcastic smile. "But we have been thinking," my father chimed in, using his business voice, "it would be a good idea to formalize everything and turn it into a family company." "A family company?" I repeated. "Yes," Ryan said, with a fake politeness that made me want to throw up. "Something more structured. Now that the business is stable, we can help you with management, growth, investments." Jessica cleared her throat and slid a document across the table. "This is a proposal to turn your business into a family corporation," she explained, as if she were doing me a favor. "That way, we could all contribute and have a fair share." I raised an eyebrow. "Fair?" The offer that made me laugh. "Well, yes," Jessica continued. "You would have 40% since you started it, but the other 60% would be split between Mom, Dad, Ryan, and me." I burst out laughing, a real laugh. Wait. You are telling me that you, who have not done a single thing, get to take 60% of my business just because we share a last name?" "Do not see it that way, Emma," Jessica smiled. "We are doing this for the good of everyone." "For the good of everyone?" I repeated. Ryan crossed his arms, shifting into an aggressive stance. "You cannot handle this alone. Sooner or later you will need support. It is better if we team up now than for you to end up selling to strangers later." My father nodded. If you think about it, it is a smart strategy. It keeps the business in the family. My mother sighed, putting on her, "I say this for your own good face. We cannot stay divided, Emma. It is time for you to think about the family." There it was. The magic phrase, "Think about the family." Family is the most important thing, said by the same people who abandoned me when I needed them the most. I took the document, skimmed through it, and then, looking them straight in the eye, I ripped it to shreds. My answer is no. Jessica rolled her eyes. "Emma, for God's sake, do not be childish." Childish. Childish was what you all did when you left me with $1 just to laugh in my face. Ryan slammed his fist on the table. "You always have to play the victim. I am not a victim, Ryan. I am the only person at this table who actually worked for something." My father rubbed his temples, trying to contain his frustration. "Sweetheart, do not turn this into a fight. I am not fighting. I just have no interest in sharing my business with a family that never believed in me." Silence. For the first time, I saw panic in their eyes. They did not expect me to say no. My mother went for one last cheap shot. "Sweetheart, we raised you. We gave you everything." I leaned toward her. "You gave me nothing, Mom. From as far back as I can remember, I have earned everything on my own." I stood up, grabbed my purse, and headed for the door. "Emma!" my father called out in a firm voice. "Do not be stupid. This is an opportunity." I turned back just for one final blow. "Yes, an opportunity for you, because I do not need you." And I walked out. The third attack. The ultimate betrayal. I thought that was the end of it, but no. 2 weeks later, I got an urgent call from my lawyer. "Lawyer, Emma, we need to talk. Your family is trying to register a business under your company's name." I froze. "Lawyer, they have submitted paperwork to open a business with a name almost identical to yours. If you do not act fast, they could steal your customers and damage your reputation." So that was plan B. If they could not take my business legally, they were going to sink me, leaving me no choice but to accept their help. They had declared war, but what they did not know was that I was ready to fight. They tried to manipulate me with the excuse of family. They tried to take my business with contracts and lawyers, and when that did not work, they tried to steal my name. But they made one mistake. They underestimated me. Counterattack. If you want to play dirty, get ready. After the call with my lawyer, the first thing I did was legally protect my business. I registered the trademark, brand rights, and filed an injunction to block any attempt by my family to operate under a similar name. The next day, Jessica called me. "Jessica, you are overreacting. What we did is completely legal. You tried to steal my company's name, Jessica. Jessica, it is not yours. You did not patent it before. Besides, we are family. We could have come to an agreement without lawyers." I laughed. "You know what is funny? That before my business was successful, none of you cared at all." Silence. "Jessica, we just want everyone to win. After you tried to take 60% of my company, Jessica, do not see it that way, Emma. We just want what is best for you. What is best for me is for you to disappear." I hung up, but this was not over yet. The fall of the perfect family. In less than 1 month, my family got into a bigger mess than they ever imagined. Because I did not just register the trademark, I also sued them for business fraud. When Ryan tried to open bank accounts for their new business, the banks blocked everything. When Jessica tried to attract customers using my reputation, she got sued for brand infringement. And the best part? When they tried to apply for a loan to fund their business, they got rejected because the whole family was drowning in debt. Yes, in debt. Because while I was working to build something from nothing, they were burning through the inheritance like there was no tomorrow. "Susan, sweetheart, this has gone too far. We cannot let the family fall apart over something so silly. Richard, Emma, negotiate with us." "Do not be selfish. Ryan, you have turned into a horrible person, but when all of this blows over, you are going to need family. Do not forget that." "Yeah, sure." Meanwhile, I opened my third store. I was featured in a television interview. I was invited to a young entrepreneur's event, and every time my name was mentioned in public, my family seethed with rage, knowing there was nothing they could do to stop me. The final blow, karma always comes around. I did not see my family again for almost 1 year. The sweetest victory. One morning I walked into a cafe, and in the back I saw Jessica arguing with a lawyer. I approached, just out of curiosity. "Hey Jessica!" She looked up and went pale as a ghost. "What are you doing here?" She spat, "Having a coffee." "You?" She did not answer, but I saw the papers on the table, a foreclosure notice. That is when I understood everything. They had lost everything. I leaned in with a smile. Shame the family did not know how to support each other, huh? Her glare could have killed me if looks had that power. I turned around and walked away, savoring the sweetest victory of my life. They left me with $1. I left them with nothing. Final update, responding to comments and what I really feel about all this. I did not expect my story to blow up on here the way it did. Honestly, I posted it because I needed to vent, because I am still processing everything that happened. And wow, I got a lot of responses. Some comments were supportive, from people who had been through similar situations and understood what it is like to be the discarded one in the family. Others were harsher. I am going to respond to a few. You are bitter. Family is family no matter what. God, if I had $1 for every time someone told me this, I would have another store by now. This idea that family must be untouchable, no matter how much they hurt you, is what keeps so many people trapped in toxic relationships. They left me with nothing. They laughed in my face. They saw me struggling and they did not care. But the moment they saw me succeeding, suddenly they showed up, not out of love, not because they cared, but because they wanted something. So, no, I did not owe them anything. You were cruel too. You destroyed your own family. I'm going to be honest, yes, I enjoyed watching them fall. When I saw Jessica with those foreclosure papers, when I realized her arrogance had turned into desperation, I felt something. I will not deny satisfaction. Because it was not accidental, they dug their own graves. Am I a bad person for laughing in her face? Maybe. But if anyone tells me that in my place they would have been a saint and reached out a helping hand after everything, they are lying. But that does not mean there is not a part of me that still feels something. At the end of the day, they are still your parents, still your siblings. Are you really going to live with this hatred forever? This is the one that made me think the most. Because, believe it or not, I do not hate my family. Sometimes I wake up at night and wonder, what if things had been different? Sometimes I catch myself remembering the good moments, a vacation when I was a kid, my mother brushing my hair before school, the time Ryan defended me on the playground. Do those memories disappear just because of what they did? No, they are still my family. And as much as it hurts, I know that at some point I will have to see them again. Maybe at my mother's funeral. Maybe when one of them, broken by life, knocks on my door asking for help. And I do not know what I will do when that moment comes. I do not know if I will be able to give them another chance, or if I will simply close the door. I do not know if I will ever be able to sit down to eat with them without feeling anger for everything they did to me. The only thing I do know is that for the first time in my life, the decision will be mine, and that at least gives me peace. Thank you all for reading, and for your comments, good or bad. I do not know what the future holds, but for now, I'm going to keep doing what I do best, being the owner of my own life. Looking back on everything now, as I sit in my office overlooking the bustling floor of my third store, I realize that the pain from that day in the lawyer's office never truly left me. It just changed shape. At first, it was a sharp, burning humiliation that made me want to disappear. I remember clutching that crisp $1 bill in the envelope, feeling the weight of every laugh in that room. Jessica's smug smile, Ryan's loud mockery, my parents' silent complicity. "Don't spend it all at once," Ryan had said, and the words echoed in my head for months like a cruel joke I couldn't escape. I didn't cry that day. I couldn't. If I had let even one tear fall in front of them, it would have felt like surrender. The real tears came later, alone in my tiny apartment. When the reality sank in, I had been erased from the family story. My grandfather didn't just disinherit me, he made a public statement that I was worthless, and the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally let him. Worse, they joined in. That betrayal hurt far more than the money ever could. It confirmed every doubt I'd carried since childhood, that I was the difficult one, the one who asked too many questions, the one who didn't know how to flatter and perform. Jessica got the teddy bears and the BMW because she mirrored Grandpa's ego back to him. I got the dictionary and eventually $1 because I refused to play the game. In a way, he was right about me. I was too stubborn to pretend. But that stubbornness is also what saved me. Those first months after the will reading were the darkest of my life. I was broke, exhausted, and utterly alone. Every rejected job application felt like another echo of that lawyer's voice, $1. Serving coffee to people who talked casually about millions, while I ached from 10-hour shifts. It was humiliating. Yet somewhere in that humiliation, something shifted. Anger turned into fuel. I didn't want their money anymore. I wanted to prove that I didn't need it. That single dollar became a symbol, not of their cruelty, but of my starting point. I kept it framed on my desk now, a quiet reminder that everything I have, I built from less than nothing. Watching my family come crawling back was satisfying, I won't lie. There was a cold pleasure in seeing Jessica's fake enthusiasm curdle when I refused to share, and watching my mother's practiced warmth crack when I called out her hypocrisy. When they tried to steal my brand name, I felt a surge of righteous fury I didn't know I had in me. Winning those legal battles felt like justice finally catching up. And yes, running into Jessica at that cafe, seeing the foreclosure papers, watching her face drain of color, it tasted sweet. For a moment, I felt powerful in a way I never had as a child, watching her get everything while I got scraps. But victory isn't as clean as people think. Satisfaction fades, and what's left is a quieter, more complicated ache. I don't hate them. Not really. Hate takes too much energy, and I've spent years learning to direct my energy toward building, not destroying. What I feel is a deep sadness mixed with disappointment. Sadness for the family we could have been if love hadn't always been conditional. Disappointment that the people who were supposed to protect me chose inheritance over their daughter, sister, grandchild. Sometimes, late at night, old memories surface, my mom singing to me when I was sick, Ryan pushing me on the swings, even Grandpa's rare gruff praise when I won a school award. Those moments were real too. And that makes the betrayal sting deeper, because it wasn't just greed, it was a choice to discard someone they once claimed to love. I don't know if I'll ever forgive them. Maybe forgiveness isn't a single moment, but a slow thawing I'm not ready for yet. What I do know is that I'm no longer waiting for their approval or their apology. I've built a life that's mine. Stores, employees who respect me, customers who value what I've created. I turned rejection into resolve, pain into profit, loneliness into self-reliance. That $1 didn't buy me anything, but it taught me everything, that my worth was never theirs to decide. And for the first time in my life, I feel free. Not because they lost everything, but because I finally stopped needing them to see me.